So, I'm finally going to sit down and watch this C++ documentary, woo, which is actually called C++ the documentary. Or is it called The Story of C++, the World's Most Consequential Programming Language? I don't know. Either way, I want to watch it. It's about an hour long, and 11 minutes, which isn't bad. It says that I've already watched it. I haven't. It also says I haven't watched the trailer. I have, so that's great. 200,000 views. Actually, that's more than I thought, to be honest. Like, I mean, obviously C++ is a very popular language, but like, as far as like mainstream media goes, you know, it's not exactly something that everyone will like interact with. It's quite niche, because programming is fairly niche. Is that niche? I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, either way, I'm very excited to watch this. Okay, about nine days ago. I've just been busy with other things, so I haven't really watched it yet. I've had a chance to watch it, but I wanted to record it as well, so that's also been a thing. And yeah, without further ado, let's watch it. I know there's a lot of people here, so I'm very excited. In fact, there is a bit more ado, so there is some further ado. Okay, I don't know why I'm 10 minutes in. I'm literally not. I haven't like even clicked on the video, so that's annoying. I liked it, but that's because that's when it was premiering, or it wasn't out yet, so I just liked it in advance. Okay. Also, they have other documentaries, like a Python one. I do want to watch those as well, assuming this one's good. But I'm sure it will be. And yeah, dude, Herb Sutter is like unsung hero, you know, he is a really key player. I will also be taking notes on this as I go along, so I'll just go ahead and prepare that real quick. In my sources notes, I expect there'll be a decent amount that I want to take notes on, so I'll have that ready as well, just in case something comes up that I want to take note of. Can't use unsupported symbols. Yeah. So, let's get right into it. To full screen or not to full screen? I guess I won't full screen unless I need to. Just because my camera's kind of in the way. I'd love if I could like collapse this. Yeah, screw it. Right. Let's go.
My idea was very simple. Was very simple.
A low-level language to manipulate hardware.
And something called Simula.
A lot of people did not think that C++ was right.
I'm sorry, I keep pausing, but I do want to get this right. By the way, I keep changing my subtitles on YouTube, and it just like doesn't remember it, which is really annoying. These fonts aren't even supported on my computer. Sick. Well, what the hell? Alright. Just go with this, whatever. White is fine. So I just want to get rid of the background really, because it's kind of annoying. Oh my days. Window opacity 0. Character edge style. There's really like not a good option. Like outline with drop shadow would be good, but you can only do one, which is really annoying. So I'll go with that. And like 25% maybe, just to help.
Right.
I look at C++.
Okay.
My idea was very simple.
A low-level language to manipulate hardware.
And something called Simula.
A lot of people did not think that C++ was right.
I look at C++ and I find it scary.
It underlies many of the biggest systems in the world.
If you make a small incompatible change, you can annoy a couple of 100,000 people.
C++ is controlled by a committee.
C++ feels like a new language.
And they may look at C++ and they say, why?
C++ is more than 40 years old.
Yeah. Bell Labs, 1979.
The world was very different from today. In a way, a much simpler world. In many ways, a more exciting world. There was a lot of stuff that did not exist and was just beginning.
We just simply cannot write all the software that needs to be written.
Colorization, syntax highlighting, code navigation, statement completion, refactorings, none of that stuff existed back then. Some machines only had like line-oriented editors, you know, so if you want to modify something in a line, you have to retype the whole line. It was just really primitive.
A lot of people programmed in BASIC, but to do anything really advanced, you had to program in assembly
John Romero, designer of Doom and Quake. Oh my days.
language.
What
And that
designer,
assembly
right?
language is different for every different kind of chip that each computer had.
Eventually, computers evolved to what we have now, this sequence of bytes.
Alexander Stepanov, designer of the standard template library. Massive.
With an 18-bit address, the system can accommodate 256K.
18 bits. God damn, that's like just a bit over a U16. I mean, yeah, it's a U18, obviously. I didn't know they had 18 bit addresses. I thought it was always like multiples of 4
bytes.
There was a need for larger and more
that's like
complex
a quarter of a
programs,
megabyte.
so new languages appeared. And in that milieu came C++.
Hello, I'm
God.
Bjarne Stråstrup.
I've never seen an old video of Bjarne before. That's crazy. I didn't even know they existed. Oh, that's sick.
As a language that promised great abstraction on top of a very efficient bed set by the C language.
C++ did not become as this one perfect thing coming out of Bjarne's mind. It started as a very small thing called C with classes.
At Bell Labs, about 50% of the people are actually producing software.
Bjarne probably arrived in roughly 1979 or 80, I don't remember exactly. I didn't know a lot about...
So like 50%. That's a big number of people who were like just about apps, right? We're not science and co-author C. Yep. Brian Kernighan.
his background, except that he'd come from Cambridge.
I don't know what the Queen is doing there, but
I was going to ask.
This is a bunch of PhD students in Cambridge. I was at Cambridge and there was some contacts with Bell Labs. Some of the people from the computer lab in Cambridge had gone there. And one was back at some point. He said, well, if you need a job next year, give us a buzz. So I did. I flew over to the States. I was met by Sandy Fraser. And Sandy said, well, sit down, Bjarne. I've got some bad news. We don't have any jobs. I just crossed the Atlantic. Anyway, I gave a talk, then they changed their mind. And so I was there for the next 24 years.
Bell Labs was part of AT&T. At the time, AT&T was a very large company, probably the largest company in the country.
Almost 1 million people worked for Bell at some 27,000 different locations across the country. 3 out of 4 phones in the country are Bell.
And so that meant they had an essentially guaranteed revenue stream. They knew how much money they were going to have, and they peeled off a little tiny slice of that and used that to fund Bell Labs, whose job was to do things to improve telephone service.
Its job is to design and develop the products, systems.
So that's like if like MIT had like a company called, I don't know, like MT, Massachusetts Technology, right? And then like that funded MIT's research. Maybe that exists. I don't know. Also, 1976. My dad was 3 years old. That's crazy.
And services to keep communications purring.
I was astonished when I came to the United States. You could call from New York to California, and there was absolutely no noise on the line.
Because there were so many people, they could take a very, very broad view of what it meant to improve telephone service. So anything that somebody wanted to work on, arguably that was fine.
A lot of the textbooks were written by people from there that built the C language, the Unix operating system, a lot of map drawing software, a lot of graphics software, chips that later became digital cameras. Everything was going on there.
It was the place to be, right, if you wanted to do anything.
Former manager of C++ development team, Barbara Moo.
In computing.
I felt I had to do something reasonably spectacular because that was what I...
ThinkPad spotted. Look, it's a ThinkPad. Fuck.
Other people have been doing. And so I decided I was going to build a distributed system based on Unix. I set off trying to figure out how to separate the various services of the kernel into separate modules and to think about how users could talk to each other through this kind of stuff. I realized I couldn't write the code I wanted because I needed to be able to manipulate the hardware. You have to write device drivers, network interfaces. You have to implement memory managers, processors, things like that. You needed a low-level language.
Along the way in the course of the Unix system's development, Dennis Ritchie created the C language.
C came out of the department at Bell Labs I was in. Dennis Ritchie and Brian Kernighan was down the corridor. So C was the obvious one to pick.
It lets you avoid the details of the machine when you want to,
I'm very curious about
but when you need to,
Brian
you can
Kernighan has to
control
say
everything.
It was very well designed for system programming kinds of things, like writing the tools that themselves are used by programmers.
C was a very great language which fully described the machine.
One thing that C didn't do was make it really easy to control what was going on in a program as the program got big.
We developed software that was unbelievably big in terms of the number of... We developed software that was unbelievably big in terms of the number of users or the performance demands on it. You know, everybody in the country's picking up the phone. That's an AT&T program that you were talking to.
C was not, in some ways, an ideal tool for that.
My first question, actually, who were AT&T? And, like, why is, like, did Intel, like, kind of replace them? So, question. Who were AT&T? Why do they have their own assembly syntax? And how do they compare to Intel, which is arguably much more well known in modern times? Like, I've heard of AT&T only through, like, assembly syntax. That's it. Whereas Intel have existed for... Sorry, Intel are popular because they're chips, right? Like, this laptop runs on an Intel Core. And I know, like, there's AMD, but I don't think that's Intel, right? I'll put a timestamp too, I guess. 6:14, roughly. Precise time doesn't matter too much. It's just getting, like... Actually, other chapters, sorry. There is. Invention at AT&T and Bell Labs. Yep, I know this is, like, a bit tedious, but... Invention at AT&T, Bell Labs. Oh, wait, so were AT&T the company behind Bell Labs? Did they own the Bell company?
Distributed system, you really have to be able to say this piece of software talks to that piece of software over there. How does it talk to the other one? What protocols do you use? And where is it? You can't just have a rat's nest of pointers into memory because they will probably not share memory. So I needed a high-level language to be able to say, this is a module, this is a communication channel, and such. In Aarhus and Cambridge, I'd used Simula, the original object-oriented programming language, and I really liked it. It had strong type safety, it had the ability to build your own types.
Begin, class, glyph. Wow, begin syntax. I do. Is it worth loading Simula? I don't know. But like, I haven't really looked into Simula much, but it is obviously, it would be interesting to look at, considering it literally inspired C++.
Classes, it had class hierarchies.
And so that gives you a way to take something that could be potentially a very big, amorphous, unstructured thing and put a lot more order and structure on it.
It was also far too slow and used too many resources, too much memory. So I decided I was going to put...
Sorry, just to preface this, for the record, I recently finished watching this interview with Bjorn Strostrup, which came like out I guess a bit before the C++ documentary did, and he talks about a lot of these same things. So a lot of these things I'm already quite like I already know. So there might be some restating, which is why I'm not taking as many notes per se.
The basic functionality from Simula into C. So that's why what I did was called civil classes.
An extension to the C language providing such constructs. No, without incurring significant overheads like a pile timer at runtime. So yeah, so obviously the performance was always in mind. That's why that's why it's created in the first place, because Simula wasn't adequate.
I spent the next almost 40 years trying to get to the point where C++ can do everything what Simula and C could do. That quest is probably what made C++ a success, because there was always a challenge.
Here we have an old picture of Bjarne and Christian Nygaard. Does it say Uppsala something?
I don't know. Do you have a digital version of it?
Really
you probably could.
I have a digital version somewhere.
Yeah. I didn't know you knew snowball.
Yes.
Hardly anybody knows that language.
Yeah. Oh, this was it. This was it. This is actually a paper carbon thing put up at a conference, because Bjarne didn't attend in person. So they had some booths presenting C++, and then they had put this one up. You could go over there and they could take a picture of you, and then they would make this thing.
Yeah. It's a cardboard copy of me.
And up here I have several of Bjarne's books also. He used to send me a copy whenever he wrote a book, but recently he hasn't done it.
Oh dear.
I built civil classes as a preprocessor to C, so that I could write the code I wanted. It was sort of a success. Other people started using it.
Bjarne Starstrup was working literally down the hall from me, and I knew vaguely that he was working on something that was trying to make C...
So what? Programmer at Bell Labs, former researcher and programmer.
A more abstract language to program in. So I started learning that and talking to him about things he was working on in that area, and eventually we wound up working quite closely together
Nokia's
for
AT&T,
a
right?
number of years. So this is the Bell Labs building at Murray Hill, where Bjarne and I worked for quite a while. And now it's in the process of being cleared out. But it's where a lot of the early C++ work was done. And there were a bunch of real interesting characters. You put a lot of highly intelligent people together in one place and all kinds of things happen, some of which you can control, and others of which you can't.
I realized one day that civil classes just wasn't a significant enough jump from C to be viable, that it was a medium kind of success and would never be any more. I thought I had just two choices. I could drop civil classes, or I could make it much better. So I spent a year building a compiler and improving the language the way you could only do if you have a compiler.
So originally Bjarne just wrote C-front.
What? C-front? I've never heard that before. But the new language that Herb Sutter is designing is called CPP front, as in C++ front. So I didn't realize that was a reference. What the hell? 1126. From sealed classes.
Instead of having
what is this?
A traditional backend.
libc, completely new stream task.
Compiled down to machine code, compiled to C code.
So if
compiled to C code.
The way you could only do if you have a compiler.
So originally Bjarne just wrote cfront.
Instead of having a traditional backend that compiled down to machine code, compiled to C code.
So if somebody wanted to use C++, they didn't have to buy into a whole new way of doing business. They didn't have to buy into a whole infrastructure of other stuff. They didn't have to write new libraries. All of that was completely available because C++ was just translating into C.
I didn't know that. So C++ originally actually was transpiled. That's actually insane. Originally C++ was compiled to C. Called C-front. Cause like I've thought about this. Where like, what if you just, create a language that transpiles to C++ or transpiles like to Rust first, and then if it becomes significant enough, then just remove that layer because it's not that hard to remove it, right? Of course, like these days, because like LVM, that's also not too hard to just hook it up to that. But even so, like, it's just crazy that that's how C++ started. I didn't know that. Like, I genuinely thought that C was just designed. C++ was designed after C, and then implemented separately. I didn't realize that it started as a transpiled language, because that's huge. Like, that has huge implications for how it was then able to become successful, and like how it was designed in the first place. That's really, really interesting.
That was done in '83, and it's a real compiler. It did lexical analysis, syntax analysis, type checking, generating a tree representation, and then did optimizations on that tree.
Think about
a lot of the input to the design of C with classes and later C++ came from people dealing with input to the design.
No one is programming outdoors in the sunlight, right?
And of C with classes and later C++ came from people dealing with systems programming, dealing with distributed systems.
I guess one thing that is mildly interesting is the question, where did the name C++ come from? C-front, mildly interesting.
Y classes, organization, mapping of concepts, a class is a type, and static checking.
Interesting is the question, where did the name C++ come from? C-front, not very useful, and that's an implementation. C with classes, a bit dated.
So I asked my friends to make suggestions, and I got a list of about 20-25 suggested names. And then I sort of liked C++. It was a bit weird as a name, but makes semantic 25.
How'd you know this? I mean, like, I knew that it meant it was derived from the ++ operator. I didn't know that it was given through suggestions. So Bjarne asked for 20-25 suggestions for names for this new language, and that is how he ended up settling on C++. C++. It does indeed reference the ++ postfix operator.
suggested names. And then I sort of liked C++. It was a bit weird as a name, but makes semantic sense.
Because the ++ operator is part of the C programming language, it basically means increment. And so C++ is an increment on C.
It really should have been called ++C for semantic reasons, but I took pity on people doing indexes and referring to it, so it became C++.
That's hilarious. ++C was genuinely on the table, but C++ was lost due to due to yeah. How do you say it? Indexes, and lost due to convenience. Yeah. There. 84. My dad was 11 years old.
AT&T's famous Bell Labs in New Jersey, home of countless technological innovations, but mostly in the field of communications. For up until last year, AT&T...
I've heard of AT&T telecommunications, unless telecommunications is like one of those things, but I have heard of them through that, possibly through Nokia.
...was the phone company. But now with deregulation and divestiture, AT&T is free to move into other ventures. And one of its first and biggest new ventures is the move into computers.
AT&T decided that they were going to be in the software business. And this was, I think, one of the truly dumb ideas of the company, but that's okay.
Today, AT&T offers an entire family of computers based on leading-edge technology.
One of the things they were going to do was to sell a C++ compiler.
And in the days we're talking about, things like compilers were piggybacked along with hardware. You got your compiler from IBM, you got your compiler from HP, you got your compiler from Sun, you would get your AT&T hardware compiler from AT&T.
There were a few companies that were actually genuinely interested in and paid for C++ compiler, and there was a development group which worked on call it an industrial strength or production quality C++ compiler.
That didn't work too well because they couldn't actually deliver a good compiler. There was only 14 of them, but I got peace and quiet to do my work.
The hardware didn't sell well enough, so a lot of that software ended up not being ever commercially viable.
And that was what allowed me to basically give away early implementations of C++. They weren't free, you had to pay for the tape it was on.
Wow.
And if you had a commercial use of it, they wanted some money too, but not very much.
I'd like to tell a bit about C++, why the language looks like it does, and present some of the main techniques that the language was designed to support.
I was giving a talk for Bell Labs for a movie. They wanted me to read out from a prompter. And a third of the way into the talk, the prompter broke down. But I really didn't like it, so I carried on blind for the next 2/3. And each time I had to think about what to say.
That's so good.
I grabbed up and pulled the bird to give me time to think about what to say next. And so that video became known as the Goose video.
No way.
And this is it.
So he's good at improv too. Makes sense. It's so funny. Like, it stopped giving him lines to read, so he just made his own thing, and they let him do it, to their credit. So that's cool. I'm trying to fetch my water bottle. I think I left it in another room. I did indeed. Stay hydrated, guys. I've heard of the Goose video by name. I don't know how popular like it actually is. That's so weird. Why have I heard of this before, but I don't recognize it?
At that time, I was doing the documentation, I was doing the compiler, I was doing the language implementation, and I was the help desk. Having all of these worlds in the air at the same time led to having all of these worlds in the air.
OStream. So it's a C file. But what is a C file? Why is it all caps? Yeah, I still don't actually know how file streams work. I mean, this is an OStream, not a file stream. Although, on Unix, everything's a file, right?
At the same time led to significant improvements.
Bjarne designed the language to make programming more pleasant for the serious programmer. I always thought it was professional. I went and looked it up. It's in the preface to his first edition of the book.
Serious programmer, yes.
C++ allows you to think abstractly about the problem that you're trying to solve. You don't have to think about what's the computer doing all the time.
That's what humans are good at.
You get performance that
That's why we're so successful.
Commensurate with, not identical, but commensurate with languages like C. It really did make programming more fun because you could get more done more quickly.
When people say, like, oh, abstraction is bad or whatever, like, I mean, it's just a dumbass take. Like it's not even worth like really talking about, because like, how do you think humans have like managed to do so well on Earth, you know, compared to other animals? Because you have the ability to abstract concepts and do things and like make tools, and then use them, you know, like abstractly. Like it's just like are you serious? Like literally everything you do every day, use abstraction. And I get like the argument, like, okay, but in this case, you know, it's costly and like it makes things slower, so like we don't want to use abstractions. Which is like I understand that, like, okay, so like now like you're weighing the advantages of using this particular abstraction, not abstractions in general, but just of that particular abstraction, because of how it's implemented. And maybe we can look at other ways that in which it can be implemented more efficiently. But then you get people who just like who just hate it. They just hate the idea of abstraction and want their code to be like ambiguous and hard to read. It's just like, I don't know. I genuinely do not get it. Like I don't get where the joy in that comes from. I don't want to say it's like an ego thing. Like people just want to, you know, like read code that only they understand, and like that makes them feel better about it. Like maybe that's probably something, but like I want to give the benefit of the doubt that there's something more to it, that's compelling to people. But I generally just don't understand.
As C-Front became more popular,
Why do people, what drives people who dislike abstraction in programming as a general concept? I get weighing the disadvantages, performance, the computational disadvantages of using specific or using particular specific abstractions, but I do not understand what drives people who Hello? Not yet. Yeah, I'll come like 12 or something. Well, come back then. It's not time yet. Okay. We'll say that then. Maybe. Not everything. Okay. Why? I see not. Yeah, I don't understand what drives people who just generally avoid abstraction and prefer having cryptic code that only they really understand. I like to believe, I like to think it's not just an ego thing. Because like it is objectively worse. When you have zero cost abstractions, it is genuinely just worse because your code is hard to understand. Like yeah, I don't get it. It's like gatekeeping almost. But like, you know, people like gatekeeping in general. But like that is an ego thing. So I don't know.
Where it became necessary to have a user interface or it became more popular, it became necessary to have a user interface organization so that Bjarne didn't have to send out compilers to everyone and fix every bug that got reported and deal with everything himself.
It wasn't getting any investment, by the way. No. One language proper or one compiler, so, you know, maybe 5 people. Another major investment for AT&T. No, it was a very small effort. Originally, it was literally one person. Bjarne was everything.
We should have had a bigger team, but we never did. Because I think AT&T just really didn't know what they were doing. And at the time, we were all, why don't they give us the staff we need? In retrospect, as a sort of more mature, not in the middle of it, they were all so lost themselves. They're just figuring out how to be in the competitive world. And they didn't do a very good job of it.
Actually, AT&T did give me some money once to do some organization. $5,000 to be used over 3 years for popularizing a general purpose programming language.
$5,000, is that not a lot?
Doesn't make any sense. I gave a party at the first C++ conference.
AT&T heavily underfunded the development of C++, which led to issues. With there being only 5 people working on the language early on, and before that it was literally just Bjarne himself. Something like $5,000 US over 3 years of investment from AT&T for over 3 years, which is like wow.
That was it.
America.
When I think back over our years of C++, I always thought it would be successful because people had this response to C++ that made it seem like they wanted to use this language. And it just was a matter of growing as the community grew and adding new applications as libraries were made available. It wasn't an overnight success.
Yeah, it was not an overnight success. I remember Bjarne once said, being an overnight success takes decades.
Right, right.
Good quote.
Andy and Barbara did something that really good developers rarely did in those days. They tested.
It was a buggy product for a long time.
We were making a release
2.0 was a huge release. It was intended to fix some of the long-standing reliability and just plain old bug issues that the compiler had. But it was really going to be the commercial release.
After Seafront 2.0 was shipped, I discovered that there was a bug in how it handled multiple inheritance.
Don't tell me like it became a feature.
So we had this horrible problem that there was a major feature that we had promised, come on, there we go, that we were delivering for the first time and was broken in a way that if it got out into the field, it would never be possible to fix it.
And then, like, this is back when like you can just release a hot fix, right? Like you had to like go through a whole release process, physical release.
Compatibility in a programming language is crucially important. Once people have existing code, they don't want to have to change the code just because you found you wanted to change something in the language.
Yeah. Which isn't unreasonable. Like it really isn't. If you can automate translation from the old language to the new language, that's pretty cool. But even then, the person programming it has to then learn something new as well. And I think that we should be more open to stuff like that in general. But it is still, like it is still like you can sympathize. When it comes to programming languages, when it comes to programming languages, developers generally do not like it when they need to update their existing code due to a language update. Due to a change in the language that breaks backwards compatibility. I mean, think about it like an analogy is a video game console that has updates, but then has to break backwards compatibility as a result. Like, they don't break it just like for shits and giggles. Like, they do it because they kind of have to. Otherwise, they have to like build two consoles into one. Which, to be fair, I believe like the PS3, like early editions of the PS3, literally built in like a PS2 like hardware to have that work. But otherwise, your only other options are like emulation, and that's not backwards compatibility per se. Although I mean, it kind of is, but like it's not like as like proper as like hardware compatibility. So like it's a sacrifice, and obviously it's annoying to the consumer because I can't play my game. But for the developers as well, they now need to like basically reprogram their game for new hardware, which back in the day was difficult. So like maybe that can help like give an example for why this is an issue. I can sympathize with this, even though it would be ideal if we. Sorry. I said there's this, and it is therefore best, and it's therefore very useful to have translation tools that can handle such a transition automatically. Issue is though, the programmers would still need to learn the new features, learn the new changes, and although it would be ideal if we were all just open to learning new things on the fly, this isn't the case for a lot of people, if not the vast majority.
So we used to joke about compatibility.
It's a new section. It was a buggy product. Release 2.0.0.
Compatibility was the C word because
C++, Seafront 2.0 faced a major issue. Faced a major issue with compatibility because it was shipped with a bug for a major feature, something with multiple inheritance.
It was dominant.
This was just a completely horrendous state of affairs. Totally unacceptable. We were able to scramble a fix in a few days.
Our software distributed at the time out of a tape library. We sent them a tape.
And the language compiler was literally distributed by a physical tape, which is unthinkable these days.
They duplicated the tape and then they distributed it to the customers.
But then we had to deal with the problem of what today is called slipstreaming. Every once in a while, someone will ship a system that's just completely broken, and they'll come out with a new one and give it the same release number, and now all of a sudden, someone files a bug report, you ask which version they're running, and they say, well, we're running version 2.0, and you ask, was this...
Really? But like, because like 2.0.1?
Version 2.0 or version 2.0, the one shipped before such and such a date or the one shipped after. Well, how do I tell?
Well, of course, a tape has a label so that you can tell one release from another release. Well, we couldn't call it 2.01 because that would be egg on our faces. We couldn't even get the first release out.
So instead of shipping version 2.0, we ship version 2.00.
Which we all affectionately referred to as 2.00.
That was probably one of the tensest technical problems that we came up on, because if that had gotten out...
Okay. Luckily, they were able to fix this issue and handled the naming conflict of 2.0 by releasing 2.0.0. They didn't want to name it 2.0.1.
Up there, then I don't know what we would have done.
Uh-oh.
This is just such a cool documentary. Like, I just want to say.
C++ had kind of a bifurcated existence within AT&T's overall corporate world. A huge part of the support for C++ came from internal development groups. And in fact, a huge reason C++ was ever given the resources, minimal as they were, was because management understood that it would make programmers inside AT&T much more productive themselves. They'd write better code faster with smaller teams. What's not to like? But a programming language is never going to be successful if it's captive to a single corporation. Programmers wouldn't come in knowing the language. We would be the only ones writing the software itself, developing libraries, all kinds of overheads. So it had to be external as well as internal.
It's interesting she says that, because, you know, in the modern world, you have Go, which is mostly used at Google, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but like Google made it. Or like Swift, which is obviously primarily used within Apple. Maybe other companies might use it, but I believe it's mostly an Apple thing. Even though it is like technically general purpose. Microsoft just uses C++. Maybe they'll make a new language at some point. I don't know. But like also you had like Objective-C, which I think was also Apple. But that one did have some use outside of Apple, so yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like if you learn Swift to become a Swift developer, chances are you want to work at Apple, and that seems to work quite well for them. So
people were starting using it outside, but it was quite small.
This is well before the web.
That being said, ow. Like that's not really an issue for Swift. Like Swift doesn't really care to be used outside of Apple, from my understanding. Yeah, I don't know.
It existed. But there was this thing called Usenet.
Before the web.
Usenet is a sort of a glorified bulk email system. There was a whole category of groups for programming languages. comp.lang.c,
wow.
comp.lang.c++, comp.lang.fortran, etc. So that's certainly one way in which information got around.
There was a huge community of computer magazines at the time.
Andreas Helsberg, we saw this guy. Could you see a sharp TypeScript in Turbo Pascal?
There was a particular one called Byte Magazine, which, I mean, it was literally the size of a phone book.
Bro, I would love a programming magazine. Like, I would read the shit out of that back in the day. I'll tell you that. Damn. How cool is it that, like, back in the day, people had, like, the interest and, I guess, the free time to read magazines like these, you know? Like nowadays, rather than watching rather than reading magazines like these, we watch videos and read articles, which is fine, but like it just feels more disconnected. Whereas like the cool thing about a magazine is first of all like it has like that official feeling, like like rather than like seeing other people post things, you feel like a community has come together. So like you feel kind of validated. Like I like this thing, and there's like there's like an official magazine that's dedicated to the thing I like. And I have the same with like up there. I have like a bunch of like Doctor Who magazines. There's like a Mortal Kombat N64 magazine. You know, like it's just really cool to have things like that appeal to you. Nowadays, you still have lots of content, of course, but because it's scattered around different places, and like there's no connection, it just feels more isolating. Cause like there's that sense of community. It's why I was really looking forward to like having a good like programmer. Yeah, like programmer-focused social media site, which was dev.to, but that didn't really take off as much as it said it would, or as people hoped it would, rather. But yeah, it'd be cool to have like just something like this, you know, like some kind of central programming hub would be really cool. Even if it's just like a news site, like an unofficial news site where someone has like links to different programming things and like people stay up to date with it, and there's like a community around it, maybe like on Discord and Reddit and Slack and whatever the hell, you know, and like people like talk about these kind of things. Like that's cool. So then like it just feels like things are happening, like you feel engaged in like a world, because you can learn something, you know, that you're interested in, but I feel like a lot of the fun of learning something then comes from telling others about it and teaching others, and applying it to help others. So yeah, I think that's why, like as I said, nostalgia, magazines are just so appealing. And like the death of the magazine, like it's not surprising, you know, because like who's like these days who's going to sit down, open a magazine, you know, like it's like the death of the newspaper, but definitely like moving it to like another medium, where instead of a magazine now you have like a website with like, you know, live updates of like, oh, this article just got published in C++. Here's what people are saying about it, and people are discussing it, you know. That's cool shit. Because right now, like, yeah, the fragmentation is very, very. I don't like it. It's 2319. Although magazines, okay, I think the main reason it is so sad to see magazines and newspapers fall out of relevancy is that they made a topic feel like it had a community built around it. Although you can definitely still find, you know, like videos and articles and blog posts and news posts about all sorts of things online. Having them compiled into a magazine edition felt like helped reinforce the feeling that these things were connected, and were like aware of each other's existence. And thing is, like, this can still exist, but in an online format. Just rather than having a magazine that's published via whatever schedule, have an online community similar to what we have on like Discord servers and whatnot. I'm like, that's cool. Jojo magazine, this is something that is published, right? And it's cool, you know. I mean, I don't read Japanese. Unfortunately, I'm not fluent in Japanese, but like you have like lots of things, like updates. And also like stories and stuff. I mean, the difference is that this is official, but like the unofficial stuff was really cool. And like it's fun to read as well. But like it's particularly good. Like I can tell when I was reading like older stuff, like that, like the N64 magazine I mentioned, that like those things were definitely relevant to their time. And they had like reviews and stuff. Like this is what I saw. The Total 64 magazine. Like this is like reviews of games and yeah, like ads as well. Like, you know, like again, like this looks quite cool, like design wise. But like if you were reading this at the time it came out, like these ads were relevant to you. You know, it's like, oh wow, like someone's selling a steering wheel for £26. Like hell yeah. Like you know, like now I look at this and like it's just cool. But like back then it was like it's relevant. Like, oh, someone's selling this right now. Here's someone's review of the latest Mortal Kombat game. I mean, this one isn't Mortal Kombat, but like there is also one from Mortal Kombat. Like it's just like damn, man. Again, like an ad on the back, an official one from Nintendo, I assume. Like it's just awesome. And like, and the thing is too, and like because it's in a magazine, people also try a bit harder, you know. Like nowadays, yes, like yeah, you still have like people post their stuff, but like when it's part of something like some kind of official publication, people just try harder to make it like really like stand out and pop, you know, and like grab your attention, because like they want to make it feel like it fits. Like people like it's less like competition, but because like having things disconnected can like also make things good because of competition, but there's also a feeling of just like you're in this community and like you want to kind of give back to the community by really respecting the not conventions, but like the culture of just having cool stuff or whatever and like good designs. Plus, it also motivates people to put more effort into their publications, since they're aware that it'll be shown to a wide audience of like-minded people. Yeah, like it's just really cool. It's the main reason actually I made this website. I made JojoModern.com, and although it's no longer updated, I had like news posts for like upcoming events and things. It's definitely like difficult to maintain, and especially like it's hard with like a limited budget as well. Like at least for physical magazines, like people paid for it. For these, it's completely free. But like it was just like it just helps things feel cohesive, you know. Like if you like JoJo, like if you like modding JoJo games, you have a place that's dedicated to that, and like you can find people talk about it. You can like read on news posts about it, and like I don't know how many people bought this. Like another limitation of this website in particular is that when you have magazines, you can see like who buys it. Sorry, I mean, you can't see who buys it. Like you can like check your numbers for how many people are buying it, and people send like comments and stuff. For this thing, there wasn't really feedback. unfortunately. So like we don't really get. So like I wasn't able to really like get like a feeling that okay, people like are reading this thing, and so like it's hard to keep it like to keep the motivation then. But like if you actually have like a community like response to posts or like oh like did you see this and so on and so forth, then that's really cool. So I would like to one day like revive something like that, you know, or like kind of do something like that. It'd be really cool. Anyway.
That was the Bible. That was the source of knowledge.
And C++ was in the magazine. We would see that and we're like, we ought to try that sometime.
Right? They saw C++ in a magazine and said, we gotta try that sometime. And this is like the Doom co-designer, co-creator.
What I have here is an issue of the Danish PC World magazine from February of 1989.
Insane.
Here's this article with Bjarne and I look like I'm fresh out of high school, which is not half untrue. I think I was 28 years old.
Half.
One great thing that Bjarne has done back then in the late 80s was to give talks at any company and any organization that would have him. And he relentlessly worked on proselytizing the language.
Oh, okay. And to this day, so there's like loads of documentaries.
Campaign on his side.
We saw this use of C++ going up like that. And the thing I'm somewhat proud of was there was no advertising campaign. No sugar daddy trying to push this out in the world. It just spread.
The fact that there was this notion that you had data together with functions and a whole new way of thinking about programs and programming, all of that was enabled by C++, to be honest. And back in the 90s, it was so much emulation and so much energy and so much enthusiasm about the language.
Emulation.
Writing C++ applications. The design and evolution of C++.
C with classes and later with C++.
C++. C++. C++. C++. C++ code.
C++.
The downside is that C++ was all over the place. There's different implementations,
Kojo.
there's different standards.
Right, Chris Latner is quite the man. Creator of Clang, which, you know, includes LLVM, crazy, Swift, and Mojo. Which Mojo is like a new superset of Python that makes things like efficient. This guy is quite interesting. In fact, let me just like put a pin in this because I really need to know more about that. That's crazy. He made the MLIR. Well, I guess that's which is the LLVM intermediate representation, right? Swift, by the way, was Swift made by Apple? I mean, obviously by him, but like, was it employed by Apple? It was, yeah. Okay. Imagine that, dude. Please send me his like blogs and stuff, please. I don't know, but yeah, I will look into this later for sure.
Standards, things were really compatible.
There were multiple implementations of C++, right? Many in the early times.
Borland wanted one, Microsoft wanted one.
Oh yeah, I just didn't mention. Talking all about like these magazines and things. I really do appreciate like Cult Repo. And like channels like these, and also CPP cons are really cool for like creating that feeling of bringing people together and like talking about things. And then like you see these faces within the community, right? That's really cool.
One IBM wanted one,
so I love videos like
and
these.
they just built it.
Each vendor started implementing their idea of templates in particular, and they were pretty divergent. They worked in different ways, and they had different strengths and weaknesses, different trade-offs because of design choices, but they weren't compatible.
Every company would say, I will make it better, and things will diverge. So if you write code for one, it wouldn't compile on the other. There will be terrible, terrible situation, and eventually the language will collapse.
Even to this day, it's like you can still, with modern C++, end up writing code that is specific to certain compilers. Like my libraries, to have like a try macro, I have to have it in a way that uses macro syntax that's only supported on GCC and Clang. So now my project just doesn't compile on MSVC. It's really annoying, but I don't care enough about MSVC to honestly to care. But like, it's annoying. Like, damn. Alex Stepanov. What do you do besides the C++ standard template library? It's like he came in, but he did. I assume he had other history, right? Yeah, he'd only been running for Bell Labs close to Andrew Koenig. Add to generic C++. Yo, Add is crazy. Ada is a language I definitely need to look into. Try Adobe Systems. Okay. Amazon. What the hell?
Obviously, there's a strong desire for there to be compatibility between them.
89. My dad
One
was
day,
16.
A couple of people turns up in my office and say they represent IBM, HP, and Sun, which are the three biggest computer manufacturers and software deliverers in the world at the time.
Low-key, what the hell happened to IBM? Like, HP still make computers, right? IBM is just like... I don't even know what they do.
They basically says, Bjarne, you want to standardize C++ under the ANSI rules. The American National Standard later became ISO.
Wait, what? Oh, I thought ANSI was like specifically for like, the characters. So they're called ANSI characters then. I didn't know that. So wait, so then what's ASCII? Huh? That's also a standard? Oh, right. Standard code for information interchange. Okay, so like that one is specific. That's crazy. Right.
A standard is a contract between a person writing C++ code and an
Nina Rand's vice convener.
Implementation of C++. So when you write a certain piece of code, you have a guarantee that it will do whatever the contract, i.e. standard, says.
Obviously, I said, no, I can't do that. It's too early. I'm doing all of these experiments. And it's not ready. No, Bjarne, you don't get it. You're going to do that because otherwise we will do it and you know we're going to mess up. Oh. And this went on for about an hour. And basically twisting my arm. Ow, ow, ow. And they're saying things like, of course we trust you, but we can't trust AT&T. Sometimes we compete with AT&T.
Yes, he was forced, but it was something which is actually very good for the language and for him and for the world. The standards are not necessarily good or correct, but
they are necessary.
Is why do we need traffic laws? Traffic laws are very often idiotic, but we have to obey them, otherwise we will die.
And so in the end it says, yes, okay, I will
that's actually a good analogy.
Standardize C++ under ANSI rules. Just give me 1 year before we start that because I have to write the... Okay, I will...
him and for the world.
Sorry, that's actually a bar from Stepanov. I'm actually wondering when did Stepanov come to Bell? Because I know that like Russians standardization. Cold War was literally until 1991. It started after World War II. So I wonder what it was like for Russians in America at the time. Like Bobby Fischer, for instance, who was competing against Soviets. 1943. When was Bobby Fischer's run? 1972. What the hell? 2 years? 3 years. That's insane. I thought it was like... I thought it was way longer. But yeah. So that's interesting. Historically. Standardization. Okay, well, they spelled it wrong in the video. Yeah. However frustrating and idiotic a language may... a standard may seem, standards are nonetheless important for synchronizing humanity. Yeah. It is better to have a flawed standard than no standard at all.
The standards are not necessarily good or correct, but they're standards. Is why do we need...
Issue is, the more that there are people adopting a standard, the harder it is to then change the standard, to change and improve the standard.
Need traffic laws. Traffic laws are very often idiotic, but we have to obey them, otherwise we will die.
And so in the end it says, yes, okay, I'll help standardize C++ under ANSI rules. Just give me 1 year before we start that, because I have to write the document that was the foundation of the standardization.
Okay. Bjarne shipped the annotated reference manual, what we call the ARM, ARM. This was sort of the input into manual, what we call the ARM.
So that is a sick book cover. Was it 3D? No way, right?
ARM, ARM. This.
No, 2D, surely. Yeah, it was 2D. But like, oh my god, that's
This was sort of the input into the standardization effort, which were to add templates, exceptions, and namespaces, things like that.
And shortly thereafter, there was an ISO standards committee established.
Clearly, standardization is not easy. People have to agree, and it's especially difficult because the language is still evolving.
At the time, the standards committee was almost manageable. There was only about 100, 120 people involved from all over the world and all the major companies.
This is a collection of pretty much random people. Many of people who represent countries just nominate themselves. The guy who represented Australia also represented New Zealand, because he wrote them a letter saying, I represent Australia, I have to travel there anyways. I could represent you guys. And they said, oh yeah, fine, good, we'll have representatives there. So he had two voices. He could outvote United States.
I believe it was Winston Churchill saying that democracy is the worst way to organize a country except for all the others.
Is that the quote? I mean, like, I know the quote, like, democracy is the best of bad systems, but, like, is that phrasing? Winston Churchill, democracy. Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried. But notice he said that have been tried, okay? He does not discredit that there may be better ones in the future. Although I guess he's implying that even future systems would be better. But anyway.
There's value.
But like, see how like computer science just casually starts to overlap with politics? Like, I love this field, man.
Having a consensus, especially when it's something that now multiple vendors have to agree on and implement.
1993. My dad was 20 years old. Crazy. Right, I do need to go meet my brother, so I need to end this video early, unfortunately. But you know, about halfway through. It's been very interesting so far. I will of course continue this later. Fucking hell. No, close. Control E. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so Seafront, crazy. This question here, underfunded, compatibility, and whatnot. Magazine stuff. This has really re-sparked my interest in maintaining communities and stuff. Because like I do administrate the JoJo modding community. In fact, you could argue that I was a major player in getting it to help grow it, with like organizing the server and making the website and also like social media and stuff like that. I made a YouTube channel, and then helped orchestrate the first video for that channel. And like since then, the things haven't really continued because like others haven't really stepped in to help support it, unfortunately. But I put the pieces there. So one day, if I find like an initiative where there are other people who can help maintain it, because like doing all these things as one person is very difficult. Even if you had like 3 people, it would still be very difficult. But like if you had like the whole community getting involved with it, then that'd be awesome. But it does take time, and people don't aren't necessarily willing to do it if it's unpaid as well. So like I understand, but I would really want to like go hardcore into a project like that in the future. Someday. And then yeah, standards are important. But yeah, alright then. Pretty interesting so far. I look forward to seeing where this goes. Subscribe to see the next part of this reaction.